I'd like to share some thoughts with you about leadership, and the title is interesting, Leading with Purpose. Something I was studying not too long ago was a story in the Quran that I find particularly interesting and unique. It's a story that occurs at the end of Surah number 18, Surah Al-Kahf, and it's the story of Dhul Qarnayn. There's a figure, a mysterious figure named Dhul Qarnayn. The first observation about this person is that there is no real understanding of who he was. There are theories about who he was, but there is no conclusive evidence as to who this person was. And that raises the first question, why wouldn't the Quran just come out and say who he was? Why just give us this title and not tell us? Allah also mentions, the book also mentions that he traveled east, he traveled west, and he went between two mountain passes. And yet we don't know where this east was and where this west was and where these mountain passes were. And there are all kinds of theories about that, but none of them are conclusive. The point in the Quran, as a student of the Quran, I can tell you the purpose of the Quran is actually to almost emphasize the goal, the objective, and de-emphasize all the details. Like the Quran goes out of its way to take attention away from certain things. The human tendency is we want to know everything. So when we come across a story like this one, we get distracted with, well, who was he? Where was he? Where's this location? Where's this wall? Where's this, who are these people, etc., etc. But that's exactly the opposite of what is happening in the text. There's actually something counterintuitive happening. Don't worry about the details. Focus on what's being given to you instead of focusing on what's not being given to you. Now, in terms of what is being given to us, I find this to be one of the most interesting stories teaching us some things about leadership that pertain to Muslims, that pertain to non-Muslims, that pertain to leadership in general, wisdom about leadership in general. So I'm going to start sharing a few things from this story that we can take away and really think about, inshallah, together. The first of them is Allah says, آتَيْنَاهُ مِنْ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ سَبَبًا فَأَتْبَعَ سَبَبًا. God says He gave him all kinds of sabab. Sabab means a means to an end. Sabab actually in Old Arabic was also used for a rope. And quite literally, a rope is a means to an end. Right? The rope in a well is a means to get to the bucket, isn't it? So sabab refers to what you can call resources, because resources are a means to an end. So for our convenience purposes, we'll translate the word sabab as resources. So now God is saying that God gave him all kinds of resources. We'll learn about some of them soon. But then once you get resources, spiritually you would think when you've been given a lot of resources, then your goal should be to be grateful for the resources that you've been given. For instance, my health is a resource. My intelligence is a resource. My income is a resource. These are all gifts from God, and therefore I should just be grateful. The spiritual reaction to these gifts should be gratitude. But instead of highlighting gratitude, Allah highlights something else here. He says, فَأَتْبَعَ سَبَبًا. So He put those resources in use for more resources. So He actually followed the resources He was given to build even more resources, or to put them to full use. In other words, if you want to think about this in modern terms, He had assets and He invested those assets. He had resources and He invested further those resources. That's what He was doing. Now this sounds like it's almost materialistic. Don't you have enough? You should be grateful for what you have. Why are you doing any more than what you have? Why are you interested in growth? Why are you interested in building more and more and more and pursuing more resources? You find the answer to that elsewhere in the Quran, where Allah says about Dawood, there's few people in the Quran that are extremely wealthy and powerful, right? So there are figures in the Quran that are very poor and powerless. And there are figures in the Quran that are very wealthy and powerful, and Dawood is one of them. Wealthy and powerful. He has kingdom, vast kingdom. And Allah says something interesting about Dawood. He said, "I'malu ala Dawuda shukra." Do gratitude. Instead of saying be grateful, He said do gratitude. What that means is the power, the wealth, the resources that he was given, the influence that he was given, when he was using that influence to create more positive change, to do more, he was actually doing an act of gratitude. Now let's step back before we go any further in the story. The principle here is that I have been given certain talents in life. I've been given certain opportunities in life. I've been given certain pathways in life that have been made open for me. If I am to make the most of them, think of each one of those opportunities, those resources as an investment, and I make the most of them to do more good for myself and to do more good for others around me, then I'm actually doing an act of gratitude. If you have a brilliant mind and you're not putting it to use, you're ungrateful. If you have incredible, business acumen and you're not putting that to use, you're being ungrateful. Gratitude is actually about maximizing what I have and really putting it to work. Even if in the world of business and material resources, as is the case of Dhul Qarnayn, we're not just talking about giving charity. He's interested in just going out there. Now, so what do we find? فَأَتْبَعَ سَبَبًا حَتَّى إِذَا بَلَغَ actually, even before that, Maghrib al-Shams. So he reaches the west. And when he gets there, he finds that there's a people here. And when he meets these people, قُلْ لَا يَا ذَا الْقَرْنَيْنِ إِمَّا أَن تُعَذِّبْ وَإِمَّا أَن تَتَّخِذَ فِيهِمْ حُسْنًا. He meets these people, he's never met them before. He's in a new civilization. He's going somewhere he's never gone. In other words, he doesn't know if he's going to find wealth. He doesn't know if he's going to find death. He doesn't know if this is going to be a failed venture and he'll find nothing. He doesn't know. He's just going out there. What we do learn about this person is he actually has a kingdom. We do learn that. He's a king. And a king has defined borders, doesn't he? But the Quran is clearly saying he left his borders. He left. He went somewhere else. In pursuit of, and the Quran also tells us, in pursuit of what? In pursuit of resources. In pursuit of more resources. And then when he goes out there, he meets these new people. And now they're he's engaging with them. Some of them come to him and they see obviously that he's a king and they're trying to impress him. And obviously the people who try to impress him first, probably politicians. So they go and they try to put in a good word to see if they can get some favor. And he issues a policy. It's a pretty amazing policy. He says, أَمَّا مَنْ ظَلَمَ فَسَوْفَ نُعَذِّبُهُ وَأَمَّا مَنْ آمَنَ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا فَلَهُ جَزَاءً الْحُسْنَى وَسَنَقُولُ لَهُ مِنْ أَمْرِنَا يُسْرًا. He says, okay, so I've come here. I'm claiming this territory. And it doesn't matter how much you impress me with your speech, whoever does wrong will be punishable. So it's not your words that are going to get you out of trouble. If you're doing something wrong, there will be consequences. And whoever does good, they're not doing good. And he doesn't say, whoever does good, I will reward them. He didn't say that. Because you would expect the opposite, right? If you do wrong, I'll punish you. If you do right, I'll reward you. He doesn't say that. He said, whoever does wrong will be punished. And whoever does right, well, God will reward them. It's not me. God's going to reward. And I'll make things easy for them. It's interesting. It's a very interesting contrast. What are we learning from that? A leader identifies people that are creating problems, right? And he deals with them. He executes. He addresses the problem issue. He doesn't let that just go. Sometimes the people that are creating problems are people of high rank. Sometimes people that are creating problems are, they're creating problems for someone else, not for you. So you say to yourself, well, so long as it's not my problem, it's not a problem, right? It seems somebody else's headache. But they're not creating a problem for him. They're creating problems for others. And he's saying, if I see you harming anybody else, you're going to have to deal with me. That's leadership. He's protecting people now because they're under his care. But on the other side, if people are doing the right thing, he doesn't want to reward them. Why not? Because he thinks that doing the right thing should be done for the right reasons. And if people start doing the right things to impress me, their intentions are going to get corrupt. Now their moral compass is twisted. now doing the right thing is actually just an investment for their own personal benefit. No. If you do the right thing, if you have faith and do the right thing, then God will reward you. And if you are doing the right thing, here's the interesting thing. وَسَنَقُولُ لَهُ مِنْ أَمْرِنَا يُسْرًا. We're going to say, from our decision point of view, we'll say easy things to them. What does that mean? I'll open the pathway for you to do more good. Now, what does that mean for you and me? It means if I'm a leader and I know somebody's doing good work, and then they come up to me and they say, I have this idea. I think it can really benefit the company. It can really benefit the team. It can really benefit this project. And I know this person's doing good work. Then I say, I'm going to let you try it. Let's give it a shot. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it'll fail. But you know what? The fact that you are sincerely doing good work allows you enough merit that this is worth a shot. Now, the problem is, I was saying this informally before this gathering. I run a company, and that company's gone through downsizing and upsizing. It was bloated at one point. It was smaller at one point. And I've had all kinds of interesting experiences in business. And one of the business challenges in any organization that gets big is that it becomes less flexible. It has multiple departments. Every department has its own group. Every group has their own egos, because we're all human beings, right? And when somebody is in and then there's a hierarchy. So if I'm at the top of the hierarchy, then there are my executives and the managers and whoever else. And there's a pyramid, and I'm the pharaoh on top of the pyramid, right? I'm the pharaoh on top. If somebody at the bottom, some intern, somebody has a good idea. They have a good idea. They now have to go to the ego right above them, and then the ego right above them, and then finally make it to me. Most likely, what's going to happen to that idea? Most likely, it will die. That idea could have brought millions in savings. That idea could have opened up an entire different sector of the market in business. It could have. It had that potential. But because that idea was coming from someone who doesn't really count, they're at the bottom. Or that idea was being presented by someone that other people feel insecure about. Because when somebody starts working really hard, they start making other people that are not working hard look bad. Right? And when someone has a lot of ideas and a lot of enthusiasm in the same department as somebody else who just likes to come and sit down and then make sure their pens are in color order and their notebooks are aligned properly, and then they go, time for my morning latte. They have this routine, they have their process, right? And when someone comes along and says, new idea, oh my God, this is so exciting. Can you just breathe a second? Let me just have my morning routine finished, because you're causing me a little bit of anxiety. I think the other employees are getting a little anxious around you. If you could just calm down a little bit, because the rest of us are worried. Nobody else is worried. You're just comfortable being lazy. And now you're insecure about someone who's not being lazy. And so the one who actually has energy and enthusiasm is being quietly, directly, sometimes indirectly being encouraged to not be so active, to not have that many. Nobody really needs to hear your ideas, okay? I graduated from this university. I have a master's degree. I have 20 years of experience. And believe me, that's not a good idea. No, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. The reason you're saying that is because you're scared that new ideas can come and take hold. And if new ideas take hold, change might come. And human beings, sometimes, they're not interested in growth. They're not interested in exploring new territory to use the resources to their maximum ability. Sometimes human beings just want things to stay exactly the same, because you're comfortable with familiar. The familiar is comfortable. The new is uncomfortable. What is leadership? Leadership is, I'm going to explore new territory. What else is leadership? I'm going to find people that are trying to do good things, and I'm going to make their pathway easy for them. So that what I'm doing at the top, I'm also allowing that to happen at the bottom. I'm creating that avenue. And of course, that is trial and error. Most new ideas fail. That's a reality. That's the reality of new ideas. Most of them fail. But if you create a culture of, we're going to explore, we're going to improve, we're going to energize, there's actually a connection being made between the top and the bottom as if they're thinking the same way. Fatba'at. So this is the first place he stopped. He made 3 stops. Many of you know the story. He made 3 stops. The second stop is even more interesting. He gets somewhere where the sun rises, matla'i shams, and he finds people, lam naj'al lahum min duniha sitra. He finds people that are so backwards, they're so primitive, they don't even know basic architecture. So they don't even have roofs over their homes. They don't have a way of protecting themselves from the open sun. That's how backwards they are. That's how primitive they are. So we already know his policy for the first place he went. He went and he said, this is my policy. People that are making trouble, I will deal with them directly. And people that are doing good, I will make ease for them. I'll open the pathway for them. What's his policy going to be now? Allah says, كَذَلِكَ. He just let them be as they were. He left them alone. These people were so behind that right now, there's no point giving them any instructions. They don't even understand the basic instructions of how to save themselves from the blazing sun. Some projects are failed before they even begin. You should learn to cut your losses and move on. كذلك. He let it go. He didn't say, no, I'm going to bring civilization to these people. I'm going to first teach them how to speak properly. Then I'm going to teach them how to build. Then I'm going to do this. Then I'm going to do that. No. These, maybe I'll come back in 20 years. Maybe they've advanced. This is too much. This is too much of a learning curve for these people. I don't have the resources to bring them that far up. I know my limits. I'm not here to save the world. I know what I can do and I know what I cannot do. These people, beyond my scope of ability. Incredible lesson in leadership, isn't it? I know what is beyond my ability. I know what is a hopeless cause. It's okay. I don't have to destroy resources, time, and energy working on something because I have too much of an ego to think I can change everything everywhere. I can't. I don't have that ability. So I'm just going to let this one go. I'm going to not push. كذلك. وقد أحطنا بما لديه خبرا. Okay, that's 2 stops, and there's a final stop. He goes to this third place. What was amazing about this third place is he meets people. كادوا لا يكادون يفقهون قوله. He meets people that almost couldn't understand a single word he was saying, which means he could barely understand a single word they're saying. Which means he went to a place of a completely different culture, a completely different language, a completely different civilization from his own. And because we already know he travels outside his own local area, right? And wherever he goes, he builds more resources. So within his resources are people from different cultures and different backgrounds. There's a diversity in his team of different languages and different backgrounds. So somehow, as you travel the world, languages, they connect with each other, right? So there's lots of Arabic words in Bahasa Melayu, for example, right? Because languages travel. And there's probably lots of, I would imagine some Sanskrit is connected in some way. Probably some of the East Asian languages are connected to Bahasa also in some way or the other. There's some common vocabulary, not all, but some, 10% here, 5% there, 5%. I found out, because I was recently learning Farsi, I was learning Persian, and I found out that a lot of Punjabi has Persian in it. So I was like, how did Punjabi get Persian in it? Oh, because a lot of Punjabis traveled to Afghanistan several centuries ago, and there was a lot of trade exchange between India and Afghanistan, and so a lot of language exchange happened then. Cool. The reason I'm saying all of this to you is Dhul Qarnayn goes to this place. Almost none of the words are understandable, but some words are common to his language. Some words are common to some of the other people in his team because he's got an international team, right? So they're starting to make sense of what these people are saying. Finally, they're able to make communication happen. Finally, they're able to get communication. When they get communication, what do they tell him? Inna ya'juja wa ma'juja mufsiduna fil ard. We have this criminal gang of people, these raiders, they're called Ya'juj and Ma'juj. They come and they destroy everything. They come and they raid, they kill, they steal, they take our animals, they commit crime. You're a king, you have an army. The first place you went to, you said, whenever there's criminals, what am I going to do with the criminals? I'm going to deal with them. Right? That's what he said already. That's his policy. Now he comes to this place and they say, well, we got a lot of criminals. They're called Ya'juj and Ma'juj. Clearly, Dhul-Qarnayn does some investigating and finds out they're not just a criminal, they're an entire army horde. There are thousands of them. There are hundreds, if not thousands of them. This is more than he can handle as a fight. He cannot engage in war with these people because that will also be draining. But he cannot leave either because they are committing crimes. So what's the best solution he could come up with? Let's build a wall. Let's build a barrier so these criminals that are coming and attacking you, they're not going to be able to come anymore. Let's build a barrier. Now, before I go on, I want you to know something. He made 3 stops, right? But does he have the same policy for all 3 places? No. Different situation, different audience, different problem, different location, different culture, and a true leader understands every time there is a different solution. You don't say, we did this last year, it worked. Well, we're not in last year. It used to work before COVID. Well, the world has changed after COVID. It's not what it used to be, right? It used to be that way all the time. We've been doing this for 20 years. Well, maybe that's exactly the problem. Because you've been doing something for 20 years. Some of that might still work. Some of that might no longer work. You need agility. And that's what a leader needs. A leader is going to new places. He's going to encounter new challenges, and therefore he will have to come up with new solutions. So the solution, the best case solution in this case is, I cannot stop them from attacking you. I cannot defeat them. I cannot end that problem. I can create some kind of a security mechanism. I can build a wall for you. The problem with a wall is, if you build a wall, is it going to eventually deteriorate? Yeah. Any construction needs to be maintained. So what does Dhul-Qarnayn do in his genius? If you study the surah carefully, he gets the people that are there that he barely communicated with. Remember? He barely communicated with them. He gets them to build all of the pieces under his supervision. Atuni zubar al-hadid. Qala anfukhu. Bring me these metal pieces. Bring me the copper. Now blow into it, bellow into it. This is how you burn metal. This is how you melt. This is how you weld. This is how you reinforce. This is how you fix. In other words, I'm going to build this wall for you. Maybe those attackers will come. They'll start trying to break the wall. And every time they do damage to the wall, you should have the ability to do the repairs also. Because if I just build it for you and walk away, then it's a temporary solution. But if I teach you how to build it, and therefore also how to maintain it, isn't he doing something called empowerment? Isn't he doing something called training and development? Isn't he creating independence for these people? That's what he's doing. And he's saying, so long as this lasts, it lasts. But this is his contribution. So you find that he is actually coming up with different solutions. And in it, I find it's a pretty amazing philosophy for leadership. There are situations in which the best you can do is defense. Just build a wall. That's all you can do. The problem's too big. There are situations where you cannot always be the one to find the solution. You have to empower people. They have to find the solution. They have to go and look for the answer. Or you have to give them enough training that they can operate independently. They can do that. There are other situations that are too big of a problem and they are outside the scope of what you can do. Walk away. It's the best you can do. There are other situations where you know clearly there are problematic elements, toxic elements within. And it is your responsibility to identify them, to investigate them, and to deal with them accordingly. And then as a leader, I'm working backwards. It's your responsibility to find people that actually are doing good work and that have good ideas or can move things forward, can move the needle forward. And when it doesn't matter what rank they come from, what degree they have, what level of the organization they're in. There needs to be a culture in the organization, any organization that wants to flourish, where people that are doing something good, the path for them to pursue that potential is opened. سَنَقُولُ لَهُ مِنْ أَمْرِنَا يُسْرًا. The path needs to be opened. And when that happens, people feel truly invested. Now that I've shared some things from the story with you, now I'm going to wrap this up, inshallah, and share some personal experience with you. Bi'idhnillah. Some things you only learn the hard way. So there's studying Quran is the easy part. Life lessons, now that's the hard part. So in my history, I've been an employee in my career. And then for a long time, almost 20 years now, I've been an employer. So I've had all kinds of employees, and I've had really interesting experiences with my employees. And there's different kinds of employees. But the most interesting kind is the one that believes that they are God's gift to humanity and your company. Like they descended from the heavens onto your organization. And they do not have to do anything. They don't have to contribute anything. Before they even contribute anything, their very blessed existence is a gift to the rest of you. Right? And why are they such a gift to humanity? Because they come with some amazing credentials. They have amazing experience, or they have amazing awards, or they have amazing degrees, or something like that. They have something in their past that makes them very impressive. And that's why they come with the mindset, look, I came here to sit on top of this mountain. The rest of you are blessed enough to learn from my wisdom. The problem is, even if I hired somebody who graduated from Harvard or Yale or graduated from MIT and they're top of their class and all of those things, the most important thing for me as an employer is not what they've done. Because I think most interviews are ridiculous. Where did you graduate from? What's your work experience? What did you do in the past? I don't care. You know what my first question is? What are you going to do? How are you going to do it? Why do you want to work here? Do you want to, what's your ultimate objective? If they say, I want to bring my past experience to benefit this organization, in my head, the interview is already over. No, because you're thinking you're coming to benefit. I, as the head of my organization, am constantly learning. I need people with me that have the mindset they're constantly pursuing, constantly learning, constantly adapting, constantly pushing forward, growing. They're not there to get settled in a certain rank, in a certain position. They're not there to teach everybody else. They are there to learn first, learn and absorb first, and then grow. Grow themselves, help other people around them grow. Growth is key. Growth is key. Adaptation is key. Flexibility is key. And so the most amazing team members I've ever had are people that are just eager to learn. Even though they're extremely learned people, they're eager, constantly eager to learn. They'll never miss an opportunity to learn. They're not going to say, I already know this. I already did this. Or this is not how we did things in my old company. Who cares about your old company? You're not there anymore. So why should it matter? So what I'm trying to get at is, how do I even begin to inspire that culture in my team? And I'm not a good leader. I could tell you that. I'm honest confession. I'm the ideas guy. I'm not the leadership guy. But at least culturally, something that I can do for my team is I can demonstrate by example. So what I do in my work, I challenge my team members to find if any of them is more serious about learning and growing than I am. I'm at a point now in my career where if I stopped learning, if I just stopped learning and I just turned a mic on and started talking, I would still have an audience. Nobody would know the difference. I could do that. But I wouldn't be satisfied because I'm no longer growing. I need to grow. I need to invest in myself. I need to learn new things. I need to expand my horizons. And when they see me do that, doesn't matter what department they come from, they want to do that. They want to grow themselves because there's a culture being built of growth, of expansion, of creativity. The other thing I like to do, it doesn't always work, is that people say this sometimes in meetings. You can come to me and tell me anything. Please, I have an open door policy. And then you go to them and you say, sir, you said you have an open door policy. I'd like to send me an email. Doesn't sound like a very open door policy. Or you try to explain the problem and say, actually, you don't understand. Let me explain to you why your problem isn't even a problem and you're the problem. So on the one hand, you're saying open door policy, but actually the moment somebody walks into that door, they walk into a blender and they come out juice. That's not really an open door policy. An open door policy means hey, I need to talk to you about something. Okay, talk to me. Talk to me. Level with me. I respect, in my entire organization, I respect people who can speak to me directly, speak to me frankly, not disrespectfully, but frankly, and leave the rank at the door. They're not talking to me as the CEO. They're talking to me as someone equally concerned about the organization. So they're just bringing up their concern. And they don't have to have some kind of, oh my God, it's the start, I have to... No. We're just having a conversation. The conversation isn't about my ego. It's not about respect. It's about the work. And here's what's working and here's what's not working. I want to create the culture where those conversations can happen without anybody's ego being hurt. Without anybody feeling bad. Because statistics tell us most of our lives we're spending at work. Either we're sleeping or working. Right? And then whatever little energy we have left, we get for ourselves and our families and other things. But a huge chunk of our lives is exhausted in work, which means work is not just work, it's also our life. That life has to be meaningful. That life has to be productive. That life has to be, nurturing. And so, we have to build that. And last thing I'll say about, I kept saying good ideas. I'll just mention the example we were talking about in the private meeting. Sometimes you have, let's just say, I'm being hypothetical. Let's say you have 4 departments. Yeah? And 3 of those departments are very big. And one of those departments is tiny. And somehow, the 3 big departments are not they're not productive. They're not doing what they should. They've been there a long time and they accomplished a lot in the past, but now they've slowed down. And things aren't going as well. Or they're stalling. Right? And then you have this little tiny department, the extra department, the department. They get the office next to the bathroom, that department. And somehow they did something that showed a lot of growth potential. It showed some growth. Now you're like, If you're a good leader and you see something has potential, what do? You say, let's inject some fuel into this small department. Let's see how far we can take this. Let's see if we can grow this. Because growth can come from unexpected ways. COVID taught us that, right? It can come in unexpected ways. Okay. So now you decide to put some time, energy, resources, attention, investment into the smallest department. You tell me, take a guess. Who starts getting nervous when you invest in the small department? The 3 big departments. What are you doing? That's a waste of resources. You know how small they are? I've been here for 20 years. We've been doing this way for a long time. You know what happens? Sometimes the biggest obstacle to growth are people who want to keep things from growing. Without realizing that all 4 departments, that's like saying, this hand is able to do something, or my right hand is able to do something my left hand is not able to do. And the moment I start fixing things with my right hand, my left hand gets insecure. Hey. You really want to do that one? It's a little imbalanced over here. Let's do things where both hands are together. No, some things are meant better for the right hand. But by the way, when you're accomplishing something from one part of the body or another part of the body, who's the eventual beneficiary? Everybody. I can't have one hand competing with the other hand. I can't have one hand insecure about the other hand. So an organization cannot fully function if parts of it are insecure about other parts of it. Parts of it are jealous of other parts of it. Parts of it are seeing themselves as competition with other parts of it. Healthy competition is fine. But when we create that kind of an internal culture, we are actually destroying the organization from within. We're hurting the organization from within. Creativity should be celebrated. Successes should be celebrated. Investments should be made where they are most fruitful. And investments should discontinue where Dhul-Qarnayn says, I can't help here. You should know when to quit. You should know when you're putting time, energy, resources in something and it's just not going anywhere. You need to know, hey, I know it's going to hurt some people's feelings, but we got to go. We can't do this. That's leadership. So I pray that some of these concepts are of meaning to you, inshallah. Jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.